how did the contact lens get invented?
Well, that's an interesting question because the first concept were some drawings by Leonardo da Vinci in year 1508, which is pretty amazing that how brilliant some of those guys were, and this is just one indication of that. He didn't actually create a contact lens, but he has drawings, which of course we've seen in our textbooks and in any history compilation of contacts. Next came along in the late 1800s. There were some attempts at taking a piece of glass and putting it in the eye, polishing it so that it was potentially comfortable. But as you can imagine, a hard piece of glass is not too comfortable. And it also covered the whole of the eyeball, so it covered the cornea and the sclera, which would cut off the oxygen supply to the cornea, which is, interestingly enough, the only tissue in the body that gets its oxygen supply directly from the air. Needs to be that way so that you can see through it. If there was a bunch of blood vessels in your cornea bringing oxygen to your cornea, which is the very front surface, you wouldn't be able to see through it. So the cornea needs oxygen from the air. So the first examples covered the whole cornea and the whole sclera, which is the white part of your eye. And so it basically suffocated the eye. So maybe you could see for a short time, but that wouldn't last long because the cornea would cloud up because it wasn't getting oxygen. Next generation, years and years later, there was a guy named Tui, and he was working with one of these lenses, and he had polished the center part so it would be a different curvature, and the thing fell apart on him, and he was left with this tiny little round thing, and he said, oh, what the heck, I'll try that. And he put it in his eye, and lo and behold, he could see, and it didn't cover the entire cornea, so the cornea could still get some oxygen. So the early ones were glass, and then the next generation was a plastic, a hard plastic called polymethyl methacrylate. And that's what a whole bunch of people started wearing in the 1950s and the 1960s, was this little hard piece of plastic which was polished to a prescription, and if you put it on your cornea, you could see. And to your point, it was truly a miracle for someone who had big, thick glasses to have a contact lens. Contact means it's in contact with your eye. So that's how contact lenses started. Now, these early ones that were on the cornea, unfortunately, they were not oxygen permeable. So the oxygen had to kind of come around the corners to get into the eye. And these lenses, if you wore them for 6 or 8 hours, the cornea would eventually get anoxic or without oxygen and would swell. So if you take them out, then their vision was changed dramatically. Then in the 70s, they decided to mix some silicone in with that polymethyl methacrylate, and that became what we call gas permeable lenses. So as early as the 70s, that product was developed, and many people still wear those lenses today. And they're actually what the old terminology was hard. We call them gas permeable lenses, and I think most people out there would call them gas permeable lenses as well. They're a little chunk of plastic. If you take it out and you throw it on the counter, it just sits there, it's fine. You can clean it up and put it back in, so extremely durable. And since they had no water in them, no water at all, there was no chance for them to get, let's say, infected or kind of go bad and get stuff in the material. So wonderful product at that point. And so then the lens that most people are familiar with now, called soft contact lenses, there was a guy in Germany that developed a material that's up to 0.5% water. So you can imagine comfort-wise, if you put something that's 0.5% water in your eye, it's going to be pretty comfortable. And so that was the invention of the soft lens. And of course, you probably all know Bausch and Lomb got the early start on that in the early 70s. So through the 70s, soft lenses developed, and so people were wearing, maybe half were wearing soft lenses and half were wearing gas permeable lenses. So, but as soft lenses evolved and as people appreciated immediate comfort, the soft lenses just kept getting better. And so they mix silicone in with their hydrogel, and we have than silicone hydrogel lenses, which not only are half water, so they're comfortable, but they also let the eye breathe, and therefore people could wear them and overwear them as well because they're so comfortable. Some people would put them in, just take them out, whenever they didn't feel good anymore, which of course is not a great way to wear contact lenses. Contact lenses then became mass produced, so you could set up an assembly line, and that each one could be as good as the previous, and the quality control is extremely good. And as you can imagine, the economies of making those lenses made them less and less costly per lens, to the extent where now we have single-use contact lenses. You put it in once, and you take it out, throw it away at the end of the day, and every day you do the same. And that is an incredibly healthy way to wear contact lenses. The incidence of infections has gone down dramatically. In fact, Dr. Gelb has been quoted as saying that single-use lenses have killed his red eye practice. So they're so comfortable and they're so healthy. And now those lenses are pretty much the number one choice for most eye doctors when they talk to patients about wearing contacts for the first time.